The WWF, what the world is watching. Turn it on and rip the knob off.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Wrestling Memory Grenade. Now at episode 196, as we kick off May TV for 1989 in the World Wrestling Federation. As always, I am Ray Russell, and this week we cover 2 more weeks of WWF TV in 1989, and that's going to kick off the first 2 weeks here of the month of May, coming out of the house show results, the news. I want to thank once again John Paz for joining me 2 weeks ago to cover all that information here in the month of May. But also want to thank last week's very special guest, Mike Mills, once again, of Booking the Territory, for joining me as well to talk a little WCW 1994. It was nice to get pulled away from the 89 project for just a little bit, but we're going to jump back in again this week. And it is May 89. It is also May of 26, which means spring has sprung. And we have various people outside right now doing yard work. I've already done a little of mine this morning. That was fun. And now we're jumping into this recording here. So if you hear a little noise in the background, I do apologize, but it's just that time of year, guys. And before we get rolling, just a quick special shout out to longtime follower of the WrestleCopia brand and of course the grenade and everything that goes along with it. Shout out to Benji out there and his son Antonio. Love you, Antonio. And Benji, I apologize that Antonio has made you watch the Andre the Giant Coliseum cast 3 times in a row, but it could be worse. Could have been the Ken Patera story. I'm just saying. All right, guys, we're going to jump back in time. Go back for the final time. We're going to hear this theme from the WWF Superstars. We're going to change up theme musics here on the next episode of TV. But for right now, we go back to May the 6th, 1989, Superstars of Wrestling. All right, it is the May 6th WWF Superstars episode. Tape back April the 4th, 1989, Glens Falls, New York, Glens Falls Civic Center. Vince McMahon, Jesse Ventura on the call here as we head off to the ring for tag team action, kicking things off with Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, the Rockers, taking on George South and Boris Zukov, the Russian. So Nikolai Volkov now gone from the company, at least until the fall, so Boris relegated to complete job guy status, teaming with a JCP prelim favorite, one George South, who was still out there getting things done. So the heel's going to jump the Rockers right at the bell and take them to the separate corners, but wind up eating stereo drop kicks from Shawn and Marty, sending the heels down to the mat because the Rockers are, in fact, tag team specialists. Woo! All right, Michaels and Jannetty go right into the action here, controlling George South with solid quick tags, and then it's Zukov's turn in the ring. Boris missing a shoulder charge in the corner, eating the post. Then more double team work from the Rockers, including nice double clothesline. Shawn gets taken into the heel corner, though, for a little bit. Little double teaming there from the heels. But George South accidentally hitting Boris, knocking Zukov off the apron. Shawn then landing a nice super kick on South. Down goes South. Tag to Marty Jannetty as the Rockers both go up to the top rope simultaneously. Double missile drop kick off the top rope. We saw this at WrestleMania 5 on the Twin Towers. Shawn Michaels missing his cue. Well, Michaels connecting this time, and Jannetty, well, he tried. Let's put it that way. The Rockers going over here. Double drop kick off the top rope. Match goes 2 minutes and 58 seconds. If they keep trying this, one day they're going to get the timing down. It's very hard to hit a double drop kick from the top. But if anybody can do it, it's got to be the Rockers. As we go off now to Update and Mean Gene Okerlund, this week's topic, the recent feud between Greg the Hammer Valentine, rugged Ronnie Garvin, specifically We look at last week's retirement match between the two, where the Hammer stole the win, handful of tights, with an inside cradle defeating rugged Ronnie Garvin, no longer a wrestler here in the WWF. And as we go off right now, we're going to hear comments from a gloating Jimmy Hart, Greg the Hammer Valentine, but Ronnie Garvin has a special surprise for him.
All right, Greg the Hammer Valentine, and that all-important match victorious over rugged Ronnie Garvin. In the aftermath, we talked to both men, Ronnie Garvin and Greg the Hammer Valentine.
You did it, Hammer! You did it! Garvin's gone, baby!
I told you I could do it. I put rugged Ronnie Garvin out of wrestling forever, out of the WWF forever. I never have to see him again.
Wait a minute. You won the match. I'm a man of my word. I'll never wrestle in the WWF again, but I've been appointed special troubleshooting referee for the WWF.
What?
And I'm gonna make sure that guys like you don't get away with anything.
He can't do that. Jimmy, they can't do that. They can't do that to us.
No way.
They can't do that.
No way.
He can't be a referee. No.
Whoa, put on the brakes. Can you believe it? Rugged Ronnie Garvin now a referee, a licensed referee in the World Wrestling Federation. As a matter of fact, later on this hour, we'll see Mr. Garvin in that new role. For Update, I'm Gene Okerlund.
Well, Jimmy Hart and Valentine didn't get to gloat very long now, did they? Ronnie Garvin stepping into the interview dressed in that familiar WWF referee attire, bow tie and all. Rugged Ron announcing he's a man of his word. He is retired from professional wrestling, but has now been appointed special troubleshooting official here in the WWF. Ronnie Garvin now a WWF referee, and a smug rugged Ron walking out of the camera, and Greg Valentine is visibly steamed. Be careful what you wish for, Gregory. Just may come true. Ronnie Garvin, the latest official here in the WWF, but he's not the only one. And we'll talk about that here on this episode as well, as we go off now to the first of many no-holds-barred trailers this week, featuring Hulk Hogan as Rip Brother, as well as ZEUS in the movie. We see kids, limos, Joan Severance in a bra, a giant neon Z that gets destroyed, cinder blocks being punched apart, shattered mirrors, Stan Hansen in a toilet. Even the legendary Ernie Anderson doing the hard sell voiceover here in a world. It's got everything, guys. Coming out June 2. Be there. And it's back to ringside for the Honky Tonk Man, Jimmy Hart in his corner, taking on Chuck Williams, the future Rockin' Rebel. He met his demise. And boy, howdy, and wee doggies. Insert promo here from Hillbilly Jim. Yes, you heard me right. The once greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, Honky Tonk Man, now relegated to house show matches with a guy who hasn't even been full-time on the road in a couple of years. Hillbilly Jim, quote-unquote, feuding with the Honky Tonk Man. And this is your basic Honky Tonk squash as well. Sit-out clothesline, going to set up the shake, rattle, and roll neckbreaker. Honky putting Chuck Williams away in just a minute 52. So the action rolls on back to the ring. We talked about it in the update segment. We're going to see it here. Ronnie Garvin making his debut as referee here in the World Wrestling Federation for the upcoming matchup featuring the Red Rooster battling Iron Mike Sharp. And it begins already. Introduced first and making his debut, there he is, Ronnie Garvin, standing in his corner, not trying to get over. No towel, no referee towel. That'd be great if he threw a towel with a little bow tie on it. Little marketing idea there. But hey, I don't remember any other referees getting special introductions, so little favoritism there by the WWF. We get an insert promo during the Rooster Squash here from the Brooklyn Brawler and Bobby Heenan. This feud still making the rounds at the house shows. Brawler looking to pluck the feathers of the Rooster. And shit, I guess. Filler feud for the house shows continues on. Maybe the longest running house show feud right now. The Brawler and the Rooster. Taylor with some early Rooster strutting in the matchup, landing a dropkick early on, but Terry telegraphing a backdrop and takes a clubbing shot from Iron Mike's forearm brace to the back. Sharp briefly taking control, but runs into a Rooster boot. Or is that a chicken leg? Anywho, Sharp running into Rooster in the corner. Terry getting back on top, finishing it off with the elevated chicken wing hold. That's got to be a rib, not just the name or the move, but to have to do this to a 300-pound Mike Sharp. But Taylor gets it done and gets the submission just 1 minute and 53 seconds. I don't know, something about this visual of no-nonsense Ronnie Garvin raising the hand of a Rooster character, although he was Miss Atlanta Lively. Ronnie Garvin, no nonsense, and we're going to prove that after the matchup. Mike Sharp upset that Garvin called for the belt, shoving and arguing with referee Garvin, but Ronnie immediately retaliating with a hand of stone. KO punch to Iron Mike, knocked out cold on the mat. Nasty plunge there from Mike Sharp. Good pop from the crowd for Rugged Ron after the matchup. So the Red Rooster getting another win. We continue the feud with the Brawler, but somehow Mike Sharp is below Steve Lombardi in pecking order. But the real story here is, I don't think so. Ronnie, don't play that. Garvin, not going to be a referee you can push around, obviously. Just ask Iron Mike when he wakes up. But catch him before he hits the shower. As the action rolls on here, we're going to see the Barbarian with Mr. Fuji by his side taking on Tony Durante. We get an insert promo here from Jim Neidhart, who's been working the Barbarian on the house shows. Neidhart says he likes to give out pain and torture just like the Barbarian, so they're meant for each other in the ring. It is the Monster Barb versus the Future Monster, Tony Durante, a.k.a. Pitbull number 2 from ECW fame, but here he's just Tony Durante. Wonder if any relation to Jimmy Durante. Ha-cha-cha-cha. Anywho, Barbarian catching Durante's reverse body block off the ropes turns it into a nasty backbreaker. Wicked-looking big boot follows, just takes Durante's head off. Awesome. Boot from the Barbarian, followed by a flying shoulder tackle, a shoulder breaker, and that vicious clothesline off the top rope, going to put the end to Durante here. Barbarian going over 1 minute and 42 seconds. And just by watching this matchup, very evident from seeing Barb here in solo competition that he was the Powers of Pain. Warlord looked the part, but Barbarian was the worker all day long. We are treated to a third week of a Superfly Jimmy Snuka vignette. The Superfly returning to WWF TV before too long. Then it's back to the ring to see the Mighty Hercules battle Brian Elder. As we get an insert promo here from Dino Bravo and Jimmy Hart. There's currently a feud going on between these two to determine the strongest man, perhaps in the world, according to Dino Bravo. Now, as we get going here, we see a younger lady with peak 80s big hair, maybe a teenager, wearing a Hercules t-shirt in the front row, and she models it for the camera as I ponder if this was given to her to promote. I have no doubt. Considering the fact I don't ever even remember this shirt, I feel like they weren't flying off the shelves. Anywho, Hercules overpowering Elder early on in the matchup, causing the job guy to regroup out on the floor. Very wise, but once back inside, Elder jumping the Mighty One from behind, which goes nowhere. Hercules going to quickly fire up and apply that torture rack backbreaker, get the submission win here this week, 1 minute and 32 seconds. Hercules and Dino Bravo coming to a house show near you. And coming to us right now, it's a new edition of the Brother Love Show. Yes! And his guest this week, Bobby the Brain Heenan and King Haku. Brother Love says everybody wants to be king for a day, yes! And that includes one Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Bobby Heenan talks up his King Haku and refers to Hacksaw as a common idiot. However, if Duggan wants a shot at the crown, Haku welcomes the challenge. Anytime, any place. So we can find out what kind of man Duggan really is. So Haku accepting the offer, it appears, of a matchup against Hacksaw Duggan. Crown on the line, according to the Brain here, as Bobby asks the fans to rise and bow before their current king. We could have a new king very soon. King Hacksaw. Nah. I think this makes the third no-holds-barred ad of this episode, by the way. Yes, we're upping our game. It was started with 1, then we got to 2, now it's 3. Eventually, we're going to have one every segment, it feels like, here before we get to June 2nd. So we're upping the ante each week at the moment. 3, not just ads, but we get little clips, trailers, if you will, of certain segments of the movie. This one features the entire scene with Hogan riding stuck in the back of the limo, culminating with him exploding out of the top. Rip 'em, brother. Back to the ring. Feature match time here. May sweeps. What a matchup it was slated to be. The $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase battling Jake the Snake Roberts. But instead, we see introduced in the ring, bodyguard Virgil. DiBiase nowhere to be found. Virgil standing there holding a stack of cash in hand. Jake Roberts making his way down, looking a little confused as well. Where's Ted DiBiase? Well, even Vince and Jesse Ventura sound confused. And then we cut backstage to Tony Schiavone, standing by within under the weather. Ted DiBiase, we see Teddy sitting there, water bottle on his neck, thermometer in mouth, leaning over a vaporizer. Only the best money can buy, eh, Teddy? DiBiase cutting a sick promo, coughing, sounding ill. In fact, too ill to compete based on his doctor's opinion. However, that doesn't give Jake the night off, says DiBiase. Instead, Virgil will wrestle in DiBiase's place, and the $1 Million Man going to be watching the matchup from his locker room. Bait and switch, guys. So Jake was looking to get his hands on DiBiase after WrestleMania 5, but an upset Snake here, jumping Virgil before the bell. And off we go. Patented Jake knee lift. Lands early on, but Roberts runs into a Virgil knee in the corner. The bodyguard going to take over briefly here on the offense, which is mostly just punching and choking at the Snake Man. But Jake quickly turns the tides with a short arm clothesline and sets it up, calls for it, the crowd eating it up. There it is. DDT lands. Crowd goes nuts as Jake gets the pin. Match only goes 1 minute and 36 seconds. Again, DiBiase backstage selling that illness, if you will, but post-match, initially, Jake looks like he wants to go for Damien in the bag, which is customary. But as he reaches the corner, he has a better idea. Roberts turns around, goes back to Virgil, digging out a wad of cash from Virgil's tights. The Snake then snatching the money and begins handing it out to ringside fans. Jake even keeping a Benjamin for himself, stuffing it into his own tights for later. Wonder what he can buy with $100. Anywho, you can beat his bodyguard. You could probably throw Damien on him too. But what you can't do is throw away the $1 Million Man's money to the petty peasant fans. And as Jake looks to unleash Damien on Virgil, there he is, the $1 Million Man attacking Jake the Snake from behind. Ted DiBiase so sick, he's in his ring gear. What a trooper. Teddy with multiple kidney shots from behind as he locks in the $1 Million Dream. And out goes the Snake Man like a light. DiBiase shouting over him, berating him, humiliating Roberts, shoving multiple $100 bills down the Snake's throat and all over his chest. Now, this makes an excellent visual. I posted this clip on social media. Go check it out. Roberts coughing up the money, literally here, as he rolls over. Ted then dragging Virgil out to safety. Well, that was humane for the $1 Million Man. And seemingly recovered from his illness is DiBiase. Must have been a 24-second flu. Ted DiBiase, no doubt, screwing over the Snake Man there. Attacking him from behind, though, when Jake handed out his money. That's theft, I do believe. But inside the rings of the WWF, there are no laws, it would appear. And Jake Roberts getting a little comeuppance, at least according to the $1 Million Man. Great angle to build up the post-WrestleMania feud between the two. Could have easily been a great story to follow through the entire summer. Unfortunately, as covered with John Paz in detail on episode 194, Jake would soon be arrested in Orlando, Florida on assault charges stemming back to December of 1988, and Jake will be removed from TV until those court issues are settled in the early fall. Now, the story for those in the business was that Jake was recovering from neck or back surgery, whatever the story is, that lingered on since the Honky Tonk Man guitar shot going into WrestleMania 3. Now, on TV, they're even going to play into the injury as caused here by the $1 Million Man, some ruptured discs or something along that line. Now, in reality, I have no idea what Jake did or didn't do in regards to rehab or surgery regarding those supposedly legit injuries, but I can confirm the story on the legal issues. They were heavily documented in various Florida newspapers throughout the year of 1989. So Jake is yanked off the road after his arrest at the Orlando tapings, and he will not return until the end of September, roughly, of this year. So long, Snake Man. We hardly knew ye. It's really unfortunate. We're just getting things going here. Some great heat here between Jake and DiBiase. We know how great the Jake Root feud was with the storyline. Can't imagine what they could have had planned here moving forward between these two, but we're going to have to wait. Put it on the back burner for just a little while. As right now we go off to vignette number 5, another poem from the Genius.
Each time I step into the ring, I wear my cap and gown and destroy my competition, thus increasing my renown. Well, I don't mind your mixed reviews. I simply do not care. But when you call me stupid, that is totally unfair. I am the genius Lanny Poffo. You really should applaud. Instead, you cut me to the quick by calling me a fraud. Oh, yes, those little sly remarks, they make me grind my teeth. There's evil on the surface, and there's poison underneath. But I'll be getting sweet revenge, yes, everyone will pay. For those who stoop to slander, I will make you rue the day. I'm planning some atrocities for every foe and fan. I am the genius Lanny Poffo, the world's smartest man.
Well, you can call Lanny Poffo a lot of things we can't say here in 2026, but one thing he says you can't call me, do not call me a fraud. He is indeed the genius Lanny Poffo. Looking forward to seeing him debut in the ring here on TV. As we get an update here, a quick update from Vince McMahon on Jake the Snake Roberts, who says Snake is doing okay, but feeling a little woozy, pal. Feeling a little woozy, man. Then it's back to the ring tag team competition. Going to close out superstars Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, the Brainbusters, with Bobby Heenan by their side, taking on Gene Ligon and Mark Brown. And we get an insert promo here from Luke and Butch, the Bushwhackers, who are currently working the Busters at the live events. So you got that going for you. It's on your ABC show, whatever the case may be, coming to your town. Anywho, in the ring right now, the Busters chopping down Brown immediately. Almost like he pissed somebody off backstage because extra aggressive here. Brown even with a giant wedgie at one point early in the matchup. The Busters just mauling him, taking him apart like a machine. Gene Ligon, another Crockett favorite underneath, finally tagging in, landing a few shots before running into an Arn Anderson spine buster. Tully then in, drop-kicking Brown off the apron, which is going to lure Brown into the ring, distracting the referee. And behind the back, Gene Ligon taking maybe the most awesome spike pile driver to date. Lawn dart headstand style. Thing of beauty here. Gene Ligon doing the job. Arn Anderson making the cover 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Now, typically, the lower tier job guy would be the one taking the finisher, doing the job. But Arn and Tully know Gene Ligon. They know what he's capable of. And I'm sure Gene said, I can make that look good. And so Ligon doing the job. And again, if you guys can go check out this matchup, it is a thing of beauty, the spike pile driver here this week, and even more aggressive than usual. And Arn Anderson with a lot of trash talking to the camera during the match as well. The Busters getting ready for that next step towards a tag team title shot, no doubt about it. As we close out this week's episode of Superstars, closing comments. Next week, we will indeed have the matchup. We heard about it on the Brother Love show. It is indeed signed, sealed, and delivered. King Haku puts his crown on the line against Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Duggan stating here at the end of the program, he plans to take the crown and the cape right here next week. Tough guy. Well, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. That'll be right here on this episode of The Grenade, guys, so stay tuned. We may have a new king on our hands. As we continue on now, moving on to the following day, WWF Wrestling Challenge for May the 7th, 1989. And away we go with Challenge for May the 7th, tape back April 5th, Syracuse, New York, Onondaga War Memorial. Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon on the commentary here as we head off to tag team action, featuring the Twin Towers of the Big Boss Man and Akeem, managed as always by the Doctor of Style Slick, brother. Their opponents, Joe Cruz and Mark Brown. We get an insert promo here from tag team champions Demolition, who state they can't be intimidated. Smash says they're going to handcuff the Twin Towers, take their nightstick, and then really have a lot of fun. Yikes. And that delivery there. So what are you going to do with that nightstick, Smash? The Big Boss Man in the ring with a nice power slam, setting up an Akeem elbow drop on Brown, crushing him early on. Then it's Big Joe Cruz's turn in the ring. Big Joe, until he gets in the ring with Akeem and the Boss Man. That's a different big, if you know what I mean. Now, Cruz going to try a crossbody, but he's caught by the Boss Man, turned into a nasty-looking backbreaker before the Boss Man Slam, tagging in Akeem with some awesome dancing as it leads to Air Africa. The big 747 splash, going to put the Twin Towers over in just 158. And of course, post-match, Brown coming in, but he gets handcuffed to the ropes, beaten by the Boss Man and the Nightstick. And the Twin Towers looking amazing here as the number one contenders right now to Demolition in their tag team titles. As we roll off now to Special Report and Lord Alfred Hayes, the topic this week, the ongoing feud between the Mighty Hercules and Dino Bravo.
Hello everyone, I'm Lord Alfred Hayes with this week's special report. The big French-Canadian powerhouse Dino Bravo has positively declared that he alone is the world's strongest man. His new manager, mouth herself, Jimmy Hart, screeches his endorsement of this boastful declaration. Let us see what they have to say.
He's all mine! He's all mine! I finally found the world's strongest man, Dino Bravo! Hercules, he's got the strength, the power, the ability. Don't send it our way!
That's right, the almighty Hercules! You're gonna find out about power! You're gonna find out about the world's strongest man!
The mighty Hercules is not the man to let these explosive words go unanswered. Here is his burning reaction.
Yes, it's true. With Jimmy Hart in your corner, it does make you a dangerous man. But Dino Bravo, I've heard your threats. I've heard your warnings. But I am not intimidated. When we meet Dino Bravo, I'm going to prove to you why I am the world's strongest man.
Could the new alliance of Bravo and Hart suffer an early setback from a very determined and intense Hercules? For the World Wrestling Federation, this has been Special Report.
Well, the two men arguing over who is the strongest man in the WWF, who is the strongest man in the world. We hear from both sides, and at least they're giving them some form of TV time to get this thing over. Not that it's going to work or anything, but at least they're trying. And speaking of trying, one guy they're not giving enough to, and I feel anyway, is the Blue Blazer battling Gary Royal, two junior heavyweights in their own rights. Royal, a journeyman of the territory era, did everything from work as a convertible blonde in Angelo Paffo's ICW to a current member of the NWA's Cruel Connection. God love that lime green suit. Give me one of those body suits, huh? Blazer comes in the ring, hits a pair of arm drags early on before a dropkick sends Royal out to the floor. But before Gary has time to return to the ring, Blazer with a stiff baseball slide dropkick. Oof! Even Bobby Heenan got a pop for that one. Back in the ring, Owen Hart with his belly-to-belly suplex, setting up Royal for a high cross body block, and the Blazer getting the win, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Still a couple of great high spots in there, and I'm not sure if this was Owen's call due to previous injuries, or if this was a WWF decision to take away some of his offense, because Owen has not looked the same since returning here from his injury. However, they can't go quick enough from the Blazer match to yet another no-holds-barred trailer. Once again in the limo, the same we saw from Superstars. Then it's back to the ring for Bad News Brown battling Tony Roy. Bad News attacking Roy and never relenting here. Ghetto Blaster getting the quick win, just 1 minute and 21 seconds, and a little more slapping around before Bad News tossing Tony Roy from the ring after the matchup. So coming out of the feud with the now heel Macho Man Randy Savage and then the matchup with Hulk Hogan on Saturday night's main event, Bad News has zero going on coming out of his one-off with Jim Duggan at WrestleMania 5. So hopefully they find something for Mr. Brown sooner rather than later as we get a replay of vignette number 4, the Genius Poem. I'm not sure if this was an intentional replay from a week prior or not, but Lanny Poffo is on his way, I promise you guys. Then it's back to the ring for our feature match. May Sweeps here, even Challenge, going to get a feature match. Wow, King Haku taking on all comers. Next week, we know he's got Jim Duggan for the crown. But this week, King Haku, with Bobby Heenan in his corner, battling former member of the Heenan family, Big John Studd. And as the action gets going, we get an insert promo here from Bobby the Brain, who informs Studd that Heenan will be watching John from ringside. But where is Andre the Giant? Where indeed? Not going to lie, pretty good response here for John Studd heading into the ring, but people on their feet looking good. Gorilla saying that Studd could wind up the new king of the WWF here, though the crown is not on the line. Don't let that get in the way of a good story from Gorilla Monsoon, who's rolling solo on commentary with Heenan ringside. Studd appears to have a little trouble stepping over the top rope here, but Haku quickly attacking like a buzzsaw, chopping and kicking away on Big John. The King tries for a body slam, but can barely budge Stud, which is the opposite of what happened when King Tonga slammed Big John a few years back. Instead, it's Stud with some very generic offense, then slamming Haku. Haku even trying to feed into the finish a little too early here. Stud, though, going to pick the King up into a bear hug, trapping one arm in the hug and the other arm in a hammerlock. Okay, at least we're adding a little bit here. So Haku up and in trouble here in the bear hug, but as Stud locks the hold on, we see Andre the Giant come ringside. There he is. Andre's appearance immediately causes a distraction, Stud releasing Haku from the bear hug, walking towards the Eighth Wonder. But with John's back turned to Haku, never turn your back on the King, Haku going to recover, landing his patented thrust kick into the back of Stud's head. And Big John going to tumble down into the ropes, where Andre reaches in and begins choking John right in front of referee Freddie Sparta. But old Freddie the Freeloader finally going to call for the DQ after he gives Andre a 5 count. What the fuck are we doing here, Freddie? Andre's not legal. Gorilla Monsoon all over the referee's case here as well, and rightfully so on commentary. What are you counting for? And then when Freddie Sparta calling for the bell, Gorilla with a "about time, Freddie." Match going to go only 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Nothing here but an angle, but Andre choking away on John Studd from the floor when out comes Hacksaw Jim Duggan from behind. Duggan clocking Andre across the back with his trusty 2x4. Andre rocked and he kind of staggers off, and Duggan laying the board across Haku for good measure as well. Haku politely selling it for old Hacksaw. Duggan and Stud shaking hands as Big John's music begins to play, the Heenan family leaving ringside. So Stud and Duggan in the ring, Stud's music playing, which would eventually become a version of Duggan's theme. So it's kind of weird. But the two men shake hands and form an alliance, it would appear, against the Heenan family, which will last for as long as John Studd remains in the company, which thankfully isn't too long. But this does set up some tag team matches for the house shows to come. Jim Duggan and John Studd versus the future Colossal Connection. As we get another vignette of the return of Superfly Jimmy Snuka. He's on his way, I promise, guys. Back to the ring, tag team action. Going to see the fabulous Rougeau brothers, Jacques and Raymond with Jimmy Hart in their corner, taking on George Scotland and Paul Smith. We get an insert promo here from the Rockers, talking the things that make you an American, as they look to slap some nerds around. Well, I can verify in 1989 there was nothing more American than slapping around some nerds. Jacques Rougeau in the ring with a leapfrog immediately goes down, selling his leg. Jacques injured like he's Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. But it's all a ruse for a sucker shot on Paul Smith. The Rougeaus continuing their cerebral heel offense here, luring Scotland into the ring to distract the referee while the Rougeaus double team Smith over in their corner. And the finish going to see pretty basic here. No longer doing the Rougeau bomb as of late. Not sure if that's by design or by need, due to perhaps an injury we're not aware of. But Jacques Rougeau tripping up Smith as he runs the ropes. Nasty face plant there by Smith as he gets back up into a Raymond Savate kick. Raymond, a former kickboxer, so master of the Savate kick here. Educated feet, Raymond Rougeau getting the Duke in just 2 minutes' time. Is Jimmy Hart grabbing his megaphone to sing All American Boys to the fans in attendance. George Scotland never tagged in. Rougeaus and Rockers looking forward to that one on the house shows as we go off now to a special interview up on the stage. Mean Gene Okerlund with Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who talks about his recent feuds with Andre the Giant and Dino Bravo, but now it appears it's on to King Haku or any other tough guy that wants to step in the way. Mean Gene shares some comments recently made by Bobby Heenan as Duggan doubling down that he's going to take Haku's cape, Haku's crown, and be king for a day, or maybe even a few months. We hear USA chants finish this one off as we set the stage for next week's matchup on Superstars, the battle for the crown. Hacksaw Duggan and King Haku. But right now we get a recap. We go back to the last few weeks on Superstars, a lengthy Greg Valentine, Ronnie Garvin feud recap. They spend an entire segment on it here on Challenge, so pleasantly surprised with that. We see clips from both matches between the two. Garvin beating Valentine, the return retirement match where Valentine steals the win over Garvin. And then, once again, the big announcement that Garvin now made a WWF official here. So we'll be seeing a lot more of Ronnie Garvin in that referee uniform, no doubt. Right now, another no-holds-barred clip going to air here on Wrestling Challenge before we go back to the ring. Close out this week's challenge with Mr. Perfect taking on Bill Spector. As we get an insert promo here from the Hitman, Bret Hart, who says Curt Hennig will be perfectly executed. Bet he came up with that one himself. Didn't you, Bret? Well, in the ring, we get a familiar rolling neck snap from Curt Hennig, slapping Spector around. Nasty chop. My goodness. Very aggressive this week is Mr. P as he clotheslines Spector across the face. Fuck's sake. What are you doing to this guy? And now you're going to see a perfect plex gets the win. 1 minute and 50 seconds. Your winner, Mr. Perfect. All right, wrapping up another week of challenge. Closing comments for next week's feature matchup. Tag team titles on the line. Demolition battling Greg the Hammer Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man. Honky promising new tag team champions, while the Hammer promises to cripple one of the demos. Speaking of Demolition, they plan to retain, naturally. As we go off now, guys, to our next episode of Primetime Wrestling this week for May the 8th, 1989.
Welcome once again to Primetime Wrestling. I'm Gorilla Monsoon, and of course,
the host, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Who you are.
I know who I am.
Friday, June 2nd is rapidly approaching, Brain, and I'm going to be in your home stomping grounds, Hollywood. Let's forget about that. Let's talk about outstanding matches we have this week on Primetime Wrestling. 3 biggies. Big John Studd taking on Haku.
That's right.
Hercules taking on the Barbarian.
That's right.
And Jake the Snake, one of your favorite people.
Yeah, one of my favorite people.
Taking on the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Should be interesting, to say the least.
Very interesting.
What do you give me a little insight into ZEUS.
Well, ZEUS
I've seen this guy. What a monster.
ZEUS is the star of No Holds Barred.
No, he's not the star. Hulk Hogan is the star.
Well, ZEUS told me he was the star. Guy 6'11", one eye watches you, the other one watches the fly. That's good enough for me. He can do whatever he wants, as far as I'm concerned. I guess there was a lot of tension on the movie set when they were filming the movie. I guess Hogan came on with his entourage of people, everybody swarming to meet Hulk Hogan, and I guess ZEUS...
Why wouldn't they?
Well, that's the way Hogan operates.
Sure.
But I guess ZEUS was kind of put out that it was his movie, and he felt like he should have gotten all the attention. And they got
an unknown?
Well, he's done a lot of movies and stuff. You know, he's a professional actor. And here's another guy comes into his ground, steps on his toes, and I guess they kind of get up in each other's face, and there was a lot of tension there. You're going to see ZEUS do a number on him eventually.
You know something. You're not telling.
I know nothing.
It's time to go to our first match featuring the Honky Tonk Man. So let's go to ringside.
Hosted as always by Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon. Loaded prime time this week, as you can hear, but wasting no time right out of the gate, starting this week's promoting of No Holds Barred is Gorilla Monsoon. Bobby Heenan referencing the tension on set between Hulk Hogan and ZEUS. Maybe a little foreshadowing there, Bobby. Well, we don't have a lot of sound bites this week from Gorilla in the Brain, but we do have a special exclusive Brother Love Show episode here featuring Tito Santana. Now, I have to imagine this was initially planned to air the following week on Superstars, but we have a special interview instead with Miss Elizabeth scheduled. So here on Primetime Wrestling, we go off now to Brother Love, who speaks with Mr. Ariba himself, Tito Santana, talking about his ongoing feud with Rick Martel.
Here comes Mr. Humility.
Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Jesse, what does he think is for? Putting up with him?
My guest
He's a gracious man.
Week, Chico Santana.
See, McMahon, I told you it's Chico. All along I've told you it's Chico. He means Tito Santana. Yeah, let's get down with Tito. That's toe tapping. I heard that music at the Blue Note in Tijuana.
Welcome, Brother Chico. Welcome to the Brother Love Show.
Let me tell you something. It's Tito to you, and you are not my brother.
Well, that may be true, but I can tell you something that you are not. You see, Brother Chico, you are not a loving man, as was evident at WrestleMania 5 when you came from behind and hit from behind unsuspectingly your partner in Strike Force, Brother Rick Martel, with that flying jalapeno or whatever it is that you use there.
Let me explain something to you about WrestleMania 5. Rick Martel says that he tagged in, and he might have tagged in. I'm not saying he didn't. I took off and I hit the ropes. The flying forearm is what it's called, was meant for one of the brain busters. How was I supposed to know that the brain buster was going to drop at the last second and Rick Martel was going to be right behind there? It was a total accident.
Accident? Well, I'll tell you what may have been an accident, and that is when Rick Martel chose you as his partner for Strike Force. You see, because Brother Rick Martel was the force behind Strike Force.
I tell you who was the force behind Strike Force. The team was the force behind Strike Force. We always pulled together until...
Wait just a minute. You're talking about pulling things. Well, I'll tell you something. Brother Rick Martel pulled something. As a matter of fact, he carried you. He carried you on his coattails. But he isn't going to be carrying you anymore. No, he is not. Because he is now being guided by the Doctor of Style, Brother Slip.
Well, let me tell you something, Brother Love. I'm going to agree with you on one thing. He will not carry me any longer, you're right, because he's going to have to face me in the ring, and I'm going to prove to you and to the entire wrestling world who was the force behind Strike Force. And as far as I'm concerned, Rick Martel is nothing but a traitor, just like you.
Tito Santana. I'll look forward to him proving just that, and I think he will.
Brother Chico, yes, talking about the flying jalapeno is Brother Love. Tito, of course, referencing the accident where he hits partner Martel with a flying forearm at WrestleMania. Brother says the only accident was Martel choosing Tito as his partner. And notice Vince and Jesse on commentary there. So clearly, originally to air for Superstars, we would have never heard the Body and Vince doing commentary for an exclusive. So the Brother Love episode still makes air just on prime time as they continue the story between Tito Santana and former partner Rick Martel. Arriba! We do have one exclusive matchup this week as well, pitting the Mighty Hercules against the Barbarian. Match goes to a double countout, the two brawling brutes battling it out for 7.5 minutes. Now post-match, Mr. Fuji trying to get cute with the cane, but Hercules able to take Fuji's cane, breaking it over the back of the Barbarian, who sells it briefly before simply walking away. Way to get over, guys. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick WrestleCopia timeout, and on the other side, another week of WWF May 1989 action.
Relive the glory days of Memphis wrestling with the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. Each week, we go back in time to review USWA Championship Wrestling from the 1990s, episode by episode. Join us for watch-alongs, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive interviews with people who were there and lived it. Whether you grew up watching it or you're discovering it for the first time, this podcast is your ringside seat to Memphis wrestling history. It's all a part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Listen now at USWApodcast.com.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here. Lots of new stuff happening here at WrestleCopia. and I want to update you on everything going on with the brand right now. First and simple, if you haven't checked out our website at WrestleCopia.com, it's a great way to keep up with the latest episodes of all of your favorite Copia programming, from the Wrestling Memory Grenade to Regional Wrestling with the Territory Talk, the Wrestling Stoop with the legendary Bob Roop, Professor Dan Ginnity and the Pro Wrestling Academy, and all the other great podcasts from Gene Jackson, Bob Smith, Dave Dynasty, and the boys from the Other Ship. And of course, all of those programs also available at your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the Copia world, all the latest news, random thoughts, fun videos, pictures, and more, make sure to join the more than 33,000 followers over at Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. Don't be left out. Please also follow us at the former Twitter, now X, at Wrestling Grenade, and subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. Would also greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review at your favorite podcast apps, guys, because every positive review makes our podcasts more visible in the algorithms, if you will, which allows us to continue to grow. Now, for those who have been asking about merchandise, WrestleCopia merch, you can find plenty of designs for our t-shirts, hats, magnets, stickers, coffee mugs, and more over at the TeePublic store. That is tpublic.com/user/WrestleCopia. And last but definitely not least, it's what keeps the entire machine going. I'm talking about patreon.com/WrestleCopia. Now with 3 major tiers and tons of Patreon exclusive next level content for our supporters. Remember guys, no subscription, cancel any time, but I think you'll like the content that we're offering there for any budget you may have. And you can sign up right now, patreon.com/WrestleCopia. We appreciate your support in helping us pay the bills to keep the WrestleCopia podcast network running and enabling us to continue to bring you all the quality programming that we offer.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
And we be back for more WWF Television Superstars for May the 13th, 1989, and a brand new intro. Alrighty, it is WWF Superstars, and that's the theme I remember so well. May the 13th, new set of tapings here, Omaha, Nebraska. The Civic Center, taped April the 26th. Terry Forsberg of the Civic Center welcoming us to the town of Omaha. Peyton Manning did it better, Terry. Featuring a brand new logo here for Superstars, brand new theme music, as you heard there for the show. The first change since the show started way back in September of 1986. About time we got some change around here, Vinnie Mac. Pal. And as always, it is Vince and Jesse Ventura on commentary as we kick things off. Former Intercontinental Champion, the Ultimate Warrior, battling Al Burke as the Warrior Man rushes the ring, attacking Burke before the bell, or the introductions for that matter. Warrior has come unhinged since having the IC title stolen from him at WrestleMania 5. Big back body drop, reckless style, and dangerous landing there for Al Burke, courtesy of the Warrior, as UW dominating the action. We get an insert promo from current champion, Ravishing Rick Rude. We also see the new look Superstars, split screen deal now, with 2 separate screens coming at you. The Superstars logo branding up at the top, Rick Rude. Insert promo on the left, the action going on the right. And the Ravishing One talking Warrior's current frustrations, his stresses, and Rick Rude gloating that he caused it all. Meanwhile, back in the ring, nasty chops from the Ultimate Warrior shouting into the camera, coming for Rick Rude and using poor Burke to take out his frustrations on the Ravishing One. Warrior launching Al out to the floor, nasty bump to the outside mat. Once back in the ring, it's the Gorilla Press drop and the big splash going to get the Warrior the win. 2 minutes and 7 seconds. And we saw this a couple weeks ago in the ring. The Warrior picking Burke up, well, after tossing him outside once again, picking Burke up over his shoulder and carrying him with him backstage, perhaps taking the souls of his opponents to parts unknown. Not really sure what Warrior's doing with these poor guys. Not sure I want to know what he's doing with them when they get to the back. As we go off now to this week's update with Mean Gene Okerlund, we get a recap of last week's attack by the $1 Million Man on Jake the Snake Roberts, and then we hear from both men.
All right, in the aftermath of that melee, both Jake the Snake Roberts and this man, Ted DiBiase, were anxious to state their respective cases.
Jake Roberts, you're no different than all the other working-class dogs, the 9-to-5 lifers who grovel for their daily wage. Only this time, Jake, you were a thief. You stole my money, you gave it away. Well, it was a lot harder to swallow than it was to give away. And now you're going to learn another valuable lesson. It's called the $1 Million Dream, of which you've already had a taste.
All I've got to say to you, DiBiase, is this. This river is too wide, man. This building is too high to jump off of. This is one mountain you can't move. What I'm trying to say to you is very simple, DiBiase. You don't play around with people like me. Because people like me, we just don't play.
Well, Ted DiBiase says that Jake was a thief who stole his money, and now he will learn the lesson of the $1 Million Dream. DiBiase completely forgetting he attempted to steal Damien at WrestleMania. Short-term memory, I suppose. Jake Roberts warning Ted, don't play around with people like me, because people like me don't play. Again, though this will basically end the feud for the time being, they will sell it like DiBiase put Roberts out after last week's attack. Clearly here at this point, though, that wasn't the plan. Jake looked perfectly fine in this interview, but will soon be taken completely off the road, not to return until the fall. Very unfortunate there as we continue to promote No Holds Barred. Another clip shown here. We're almost there, guys, but not soon enough. Still several weeks away. Back to the ring. More action. Going to see Bad News Brown battle a fellow by the name of Tom Stock, as we see Danny Davis making his return as WWF official here. Referee Danny Davis once again, after 2 years in the ring as a wrestler. Though he doesn't get the same fanfare as Ronnie Garvin, nor an introduction. A little biased there, if you ask me. Vince McMahon reminding us that Davis is under probation, and any slip-up would see Danny terminated from the WWF as a whole. McMahon also suggesting that Danny no longer under the brainwashed guidance, the influence of former manager Jimmy Hart. So he's got that going for him. Brown going to jump Stock here, and Davis, a little rusty, forgets to call for the bell, but that's okay. The bell sounds anyway. Danny warning Bad News over and over again of the closed fists and the choking throughout the matchup. Brown responding here, asking Davis, what happened to you, man? Just to drive the point home that Danny Davis is calling it right down the middle, daddy. Wait, that's another referee. Beautiful ghetto blaster here on Stock, going to give Bad News the win. Foot on the chest of Stock. Brown going over 1 minute and 57 seconds. And though admittedly not much by the way of offense at this stage of his career, Bad News Brown brought a presence that needed to be utilized in some fashion, which just wasn't happening at the moment. They really didn't know what to do with Bad News after coming off of the feud with the Mega Powers. And much like Garvin was showcased last week as the new Trouble Shooting Referee, Danny Davis returning in a match with the meanest of the mean, Bad News Brown, just to prove he was going to enforce the rules of the WWF and again play it right down the middle. Well, we continue on, and not only are we getting No Holds Barred clips, but now we're getting wrestlers telling us how great the movie is, including Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Yeah, like he can sit still for 2 hours. Jim Neidhart promoting No Holds Barred. Go see it. Yeah, baby. As back to the ring for singles action, Brutus the Barber Beefcake battling Tony Leone. Ronnie Garvin, the referee here. We get an insert promo from the new haircut Brutus the Barber vowing revenge on the Macho Man and Scary Sherri. Vince McMahon crapping all over Randy Savage during this matchup. Vince stating that Savage rode the coattails of Hulk Hogan, but always the voice of truth. Jesse Ventura going to call the Vinnie Mac out. Ventura says Macho Man didn't ride anything. He won the title in a tournament, Vince, a tournament that Hulk Hogan was also in, but failed to get the job done. Tell it, Jess. Meanwhile, in the ring, good rope running sequence by Leone leading into a Barber high knee. Then soon after, it's the sleeper hold, putting Leone out 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And a little post-match haircut for what's left on the head of Mr. Leone. And we go into a commercial break. Back from break, we see ZEUS in the WWF ring. Shoulder pads and all. Very cool look here by the big, mighty ZEUS. Vince McMahon referring to him as 6'10", 323 pounds, the character ZEUS, referring to ZEUS as a character. ZEUS then scaring the enhancement talent out of the ring, getting ready for the next matchup. ZEUS chasing everyone away, including ring announcer Howard Finkel, as we go to another trailer of No Holds Barred. Coming out of said trailer, we see ZEUS exiting ringside upon the end of that clip. Vince stating that ZEUS upset that he wasn't billed as the star of the film. Why would you want that credit, Vince? But an amazing look nonetheless. The crowd really into it, getting some boos here. They haven't seen the movie, hasn't been released yet, but a hell of a look there on Mr. Tiny Lister, a.k.a. ZEUS. And the job guys that ZEUS chased away return to the ring. But before we get to the action, Vince McMahon informing us we were to go to the Brother Love show. However, Brother Love has been preempted this week. We saw it on primetime. He's been preempted for a special interview with Miss Elizabeth, which will be following this upcoming matchup, featuring the Twin Towers with Slick in their corner, taking on Jim Merkel, that can't be his real name, and Kevin Michelson. Insert promo here from Tag Team Champions Demolition, who state if the Towers want the belts, just sign the contract, boys. Double avalanche in the corner on poor Merkel before the Boss Man Slam and Big Splash, putting Michelson away in just 1 minute and 41 seconds. Post-match, Merkel handcuffed to the ropes and beaten with the nightstick for having a silly last name. Apologies out there for anyone named Merkel. We continue on, but before we go to that special interview, we got to take a quick shot of the crowd. Lots of ice cream bar shots, I should mention, in recent weeks. Must be that time of year. All the ringside fans eating those giveaway ice cream bars made by the World Wrestling Federation. Those were damn tasty, guys. As we go off now, special interview up on the stage. Tony Schiavone handling the duties here on Superstars, interviewing the lovely Miss Elizabeth. Tony introing Liz, the manager of WWF Champion Hulk Hogan, is how he refers to her. But Tony wondering if Liz plans to continue as Hulk's manager after the fallout of WrestleMania 5. Elizabeth says she will be there as long as Hogan needs her. Crowd popping huge for that. Liz also says that as long as there is a breath in her body, she will do everything she can to help Hulk Hogan remain WWF Champion. Schiavone then asking Liz about Savage and his new manager, Sherri. Their comments about planning to end Hulkamania. Liz believes with all her heart that Hulkamania will indeed live forever. And Vince eating that line up. Ha ha ha! Yeah, pal! So weird to see Tony interviewing frickin' Miss Elizabeth. Talk about bizarro world, but he handles it so professionally out here. Job well done, Tone. There wasn't much to say here. Elizabeth clearly fed 2 lines that oddly both included internal organs, lungs, and heart. But the purpose here was to sell the return matches with Randy Savage, with Sherri in his corner, versus Hulk Hogan, presumably now with Elizabeth back in his corner on the upcoming house shows here in the summer. Looking forward to all of that. Miss Elizabeth still hanging around for the time being. As we go back to the ring promised last week, here it is feature match. Hacksaw Jim Duggan battling King Haku with manager Bobby the Brain Heenan. The crown is on the line, guys, as the genius shown here in an insert poem predicting that Hacksaw is going down. We'll see if the prediction can come to fruition or not here, as the crown is on the line and Jim Duggan storming the ring, awaiting the entrance of the King, As Haku carried out in his sedan, the throne there carried to ringside, Vince says this could be Haku's last ride, pal, as king of the World Wrestling Federation. Duggan teasing using the 2x4 as a baseball bat as Haku enters the ring, but the king shows no fear because Haku, he uses 2x4s as toothpicks, pal. But the bell sounds and both guys play into the crowd. USA chants begin to ring out for Hacksaw Jim. Haku, though, gives a clean break on the first go-around up against the ropes, but a sucker shot on Duggan for the second time. Duggan going to retaliate with a clothesline, however. And the Hacker, he ain't doing much, but Haku bailing out of the ring. Going to regroup here with manager Bobby Heenan, and the crowd absolutely behind Hacksaw Duggan. The King going to regroup, re-enter the ring as Jesse Ventura pointing out Haku, he wants to wrestle. Meanwhile, Duggan, he wants to brawl. So Haku, gonna brawl right back. The King going to Duggan's head, but that ain't working. Not the best place to go on Hacksaw. Haku. Duggan gonna hack up, if you will. Hack up? That doesn't sound right. Haku, though, gonna cut him off with a clothesline, and Haku looking for a somersault senton, but nobody home. Duggan out of the way and back to his feet, awaiting Haku. 3-point stance and running clothesline connects. You gotta be kidding me. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Jim Duggan pinning Haku 3 minutes and 28 seconds. And Haku loses the crown. Your winner and new king of the WWF, King Hacksaw? Bobby Heenan beside himself, snatching up the cape of the crown. Heenan heading for the locker room, stealing the garments that now belong to Duggan. Meanwhile, Hacksaw doesn't even realize celebrating in the ring with his 2x4. But make no mistake about it, Duggan is the new king of the WWF. Egads. Well, the crowd going absolutely wild for the decision here, even if this entire match consisted of maybe 4 moves, and 3 of those were clotheslines. Somehow they plan on this engaging the fans to want to see rematches at the house shows nearby. No thanks, but the King gimmick with Haku never really got over. Meanwhile, Duggan is over, so you can't really complain there, but his matches, including this one, have not been good in quite a while. Jim Duggan, well, we can only hope he ups his game now that he's the king of the WWF, dethroning King Haku. Can you imagine that coronation? You won't have to wait long. We go to the ring. One more match this week on Superstars sees Tito Santana battle Barry Horowitz. And you can expect 2 things during a Tito entrance here. 1, Vince McMahon referring to his theme as toe-tapping music, pal. And 2, Jesse referencing the Blue Note Club in Tijuana. We get an insert promo as the match gets going from Rick Martel, who says when he steps in the ring with Tito, even Santana will finally understand that Martel is the better man. Well, with Tito and Horowitz in the ring, we get a solid match, as you might suspect. Nice dropkick from Tito before settling on some arm work. As Vince continues to correct Jesse that it is Tito, not Chico, Jesse informs us all that actually his real name is Chico. Barry Horowitz finally bailing outside of the ring, trying to regroup, but brought back in the hard way. And it isn't too long before Santana with a big backdrop, setting up the flying forearm. Going to get the Duke 2 minutes and 29 seconds. Arriba! Tito Santana coming out a winner. As we learn next week on Superstars, Ravishing Rick Rude will be in the ring, the Intercontinental Champion, as well as Rick Martel, Luke and Butch, the Bushwhackers. Mr. Perfect going to be here. Brother Love's scheduled guest, Jake the Snake Roberts. That could be interesting. As well as the coronation of the new king, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Boy, May sweeps all day here. Jim Duggan going to be coronated king right there in the middle of the ring. All of that plus feature match. Going to see the Red Rooster battle the Brooklyn Brawler. And initially, I wasn't going to grab the soundbite here, but my goodness, guys, after listening to it, I just had to. We're going to go off now to closing comments from both men.
Next week, right here, Red Rooster and the Brooklyn Brawler. What is next week?
It's hunting season, Bob.
And what kind of hunting do you like?
Rooster hunting.
You've got 1 week, Red Rooster, to enjoy yourself. And then you know what?
This one.
The Red Rooster is excited because next week, right here I get my rooster claws on you, brawler. No jumping from behind, and all the rooster boosters out there are going to see why I am poultry in motion. Arr, 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 arr.
Well, the brawler says it's rooster hunting season, something to that effect, but holy shit. We have made the full transformation now. Not only is the Red Rooster wearing spiked red hair into 4 points, but we have debuted various lines all in one little promo here. Everything from Terry Taylor being egg-cited to calling his fans rooster boosters to referring to himself as poultry in motion. And if that wasn't all, we get one, not two, but a triple dose of How else can you bury a guy in a 20-second promo? Take a look right here. The Red Rooster continuing his feud with the Brooklyn Brawler right here on TV as we roll on to another edition of Wrestling Challenge. Now, Superstars, brand new theme, brand new look. They don't take challenges seriously. Still the same old challenge, at least for now. May the 14th, tape back April 25th. New set of tapings in Des Moines, Iowa at the Veterans Memorial Auditorium. Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon on the commentary here as we roll off to the ring for tag team champions Axe and Smash Demolition, battling Greg the Hammer Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man with manager Jimmy Hart. Unique title match here for television. Earl Hebner, the referee. Just something weird about Valentine versus Smash standing in the ring, but we get going as Smash going to take control of the Hammer. Hammering away on the Hammer is Smash. Atomic drop by Smash, but runs into a Valentine boot in the corner. And a clothesline going to drop Smash down to the mat. Valentine adjusting his shin guard early on here, looking to capture those titles in quick fashion, calling for the figure four, but Smash able to throw him off, fight off the figure four, and in tags the Honky Tonk Man. And again, a very weird dynamic here as the Demolition beat down on Honky Tonk, who sells tremendously here. Demolition in firm control as Axe tells Smash to give me the boot. But Greg Valentine distracting the referee, and Honky goes to the throat of Axe to take over for the heels. The challengers take Axe back to their corner as we see a questionable low blow by Valentine. I don't think that was intentional either, but Axe going to fire back as we get a miscommunication spot. Valentine taking a bump before Axe even does anything. But it does allow Axe to make the hot tag out to partner Smash, who comes in rocking the clocks of both heels. Smash slugging the Hammer, who bumps into referee Earl Hebner. And Earl taking a bump through the ropes out to the floor. So down goes the referee. Uh-oh. And Honky Tonk Man also pitched outside. The crowd going nuts as Demolition double teaming Greg Valentine. Double beatdown by the tag team champions. But Honky Tonk re-entering the ring and Jimmy Hart tossing him the megaphone. Uh-oh. Meanwhile, we see rugged Ronnie Garvin, now a referee himself, ringside checking on the downed Earl Hebner. Honky Tonk Man using the megaphone, but the Demolition, well, barely selling it. Turning things into a four-way melee in the ring between the two teams before Ronnie Garvin in there shoving all four men. If anybody can do it, Garvin separating the entire brawl all by himself before declaring Demolition the winners by disqualification. Ronnie saw the megaphone come into play. The Demos being given the nod here. 5 minutes and 2 seconds. Demolition will retain, but the heels none too happy. And as the Demos leave the ring with the tag team gold still in hand, Honky and the Hammer attacking Garvin from behind in the ring. Now the tag champs quickly back in to make the save for Garvin. Honky wisely exiting the ring before he can even be touched, because Honky Tonk Man. Greg the Hammer Valentine going to take a few shots from the tag team champions before the heels retreat ringside. Well, outside of the fact that it was constant motion in the ring, everybody kept things going. The action itself really wasn't much of anything here. Still better than Stud and Haku, or Duggan and Haku for that matter. I enjoyed the dynamic of the two teams, the contrast of both sides, more than I thought I would, but the delivery here was just really to get to the finish, to appease May Sweeps, with a competitive match, if you will, while they continued to tell the story of Ronnie Garvin and Greg Valentine. A new twist here, a thorn in the side it looks like Garvin will be, whether he's a wrestler or a referee for the Hammer. As we go off to this week's special report with Lord Alfred Hayes, we get another recap of last week's Dibiase Jake angle, during the Jake Virgil matchup. We also get another No Holds Barred preview. Can't get enough of those things. As we go back to the ring for singles action, going to see one half of the Hart Foundation, the Hitman, Bret Hart, battle Dave Wagner. Been a while since we see Wagner here on WWF TV. And they are now pushing the silver Hitman shades as we see some ringside fans wearing them. Gorilla wondering if those are available in prescription lenses. Wouldn't that be cool, Gorilla? Danny Davis, the referee here, which is kind of interesting given his past history with the Harts. Of course, Davis reinstated by President Jack Tunney. Gorilla thinks the $1 Million Man had some influence on getting Davis rehired as an official. What does that mean, Gorilla? So Vince doing everything he can to put over Davis, moving away from Jimmy Hart. Meanwhile, Gorilla going into his own angles here that maybe Ted DiBiase paid off Jack Tunney to give Davis this job back as a referee. Only time will tell as we get an insert promo here from Mr. Perfect, who is currently working the Hitman on the house shows. In the ring, Wagner landing a few shots early on, but Bret very much in control of this one. Vertical suplex, setting up that patented Hitman middle rope elbow drop. Needle point elbow drop there. Gonna get the win. 2 minutes and 23 seconds. No pile driver this week from Bret Hart. But it is funny seeing Danny Davis raise the hand of the Hitman here. Bizarro world, pal. Given the past history of everyone involved. Gorilla Monsoon going to throw to Sean Mooney in the event center at this point in the show as we get one of our earliest who from the brain. Let's go to Sean Mooney. Who? Always got a kick out of that. And it starts back here in 89. We've only been doing it for a couple weeks now. As, we heard from Jim Neidhart telling us how great No Holds Barred was. Well, it doesn't end there. The Birdman, Coco Beware. I haven't seen him on TV in recent weeks, but he's here to tell us that Hulk Hogan is his friend, and he encourages everybody to go out there and watch the movie No Holds Barred. Gorilla Monsoon putting over Coco. Bobby says he didn't realize it was the Birdman. He thought it was someone who had made bail for James Brown. Yeesh. Well, back to the ring for the Barbarian with Mr. Fuji by his side, taking on Kim Yates. As we cut to a kid in the front row holding a Jim Neidhart t-shirt. That's right. We know Neidhart Barbarian going to be feuding on the house show right now, so we go to an insert promo from the Anvil as well. Looking forward to his upcoming matches with Barb. But I'm looking forward to this one. Impressive strength shown here by the Barbarian, and he lands that patented big boot. God, I love that boot. And the flying shoulder tackle, setting up Barbarian to go to the top rope, taking Yates down with that flying clothesline, giving Barbarian yet another win. 1 minute and 52 seconds. Notice how often they're utilizing Barbarian here on syndicated TV. We've seen the Warlord more often than not on primetime. I think Warlord got one syndicated match thus far. But clearly Vince and company know where the bread is buttered in that team. As we come back from break, we saw it on Superstars. We see it here again on Challenge. ZEUS in the ring, this time without said shoulder pads, unfortunately. ZEUS running off the job guys and ring announcer Mike McGurk as we get another trailer to No Holds Barred. This just won't end, guys. Then after ZEUS leaves the ring, we get our next matchup featuring Tony Leone and the Invader, the Masked Man, battling Luke and Butch, the Bushwhackers, who are super over with the fans here. We even see an 80-year-old granny doing the Bushwhacker bounce in the front row. My goodness. We get an insert poem here from the genius who talks about Bobby Heenan, who has the brains, while Luke and Butch have none, referencing the ongoing matches between Bobby's Brainbusters and the Bushwhackers on the house shows. Referee here, once again, Danny Davis. No longer dangerous, perhaps. The Invader takes a beat down early on. Nice lariat at one point by Luke, leaving his feet. We don't see that too often. Moving forward, Leone finally able to tag in, but soon runs into the battering ram and the double gutbuster going to put Leone away. Bushwhackers going over in just 2 minutes and 2 seconds. As we go off now to this week's special interview, Mean Gene Okerlund up on the announce platform with manager Bobby the Brain Heenan and the Intercontinental Champion ravishing Rick Rude. We even get a replay of the finish for the WrestleMania 5 match. We have to make it known that Bobby Heenan cheating, aiding, tripping up the Warrior to give Rick Rude his IC title win. Bobby Heenan here on the mic telling the Warrior he is simply not man enough to beat Rude back for the IC gold. Rude stating that there wasn't a woman in the world that night at WrestleMania without a tear of joy in her eye as the Intercontinental Championship went around the waist of the sexiest man alive. Bobby Heenan then telling the Warrior when he's done painting his face next time to paint himself a title belt to go along with it, because that's the only way he will ever have the belt again. Might want to choose your words more wisely there, Bobby. But the action continues on in the ring. The Mighty Hercules taking on Randy Spears. We get an insert promo from Dino Bravo coming for the Mighty One. Ronnie Garvin, the referee, out here for this one, but even he heads for the hills when Hercules swings the mighty chain before the matchup. Ronnie Garvin's mom ain't raised no fool. In the ring, though, Spears, well put together himself, and a big boy, but Hercules going to dominate and control this one, leading to the torture rack backbreaker, getting the submission win in just 157. And would you believe it? There's another no-holds-barred promo, guys, before we go to our final match on Challenge, featuring former member of Strikeforce Rick Martel with his new manager, the Doctor of Style Slick. Martel's opponent going to be Jim Evans, but as Slick and Martel make their way to ringside, they're stopped by the ring by none other than Tony Schiavone, who asks them about Tito Santana. Martel talks about carrying Santana for years, says he's going to show the fans what Rick Martel is all about. Rick says he has the great looks, the great body, and the better ability than Santana. Great looks? Great body? He may be able to parlay this into a second career someday. We also get an insert promo from Tito stating that it's Rick Martel who will find out who the better man is when they meet in the ring. Arriba! As Martel going to jump Jim Evans before the bell even sounds, Rick with an up and over out of the corner into a back roll and springing back to his feet, proud of himself, showing off to the crowd here. The new physique, the nice tan, as Rick Martel now resides from Cocoa Beach, Florida. Martel going to sidestep an Evans dropkick attempt, but Martel landing one right on the money dropkick of his own here from Rick before a gun-rich suplex setting up Martel to go to the top rope. What's he going to do up there? Diving knee drop into the center of the ring. Lands, connects on Evans, giving Martel the win. Match only goes 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And, the first time I saw Martel land the knee drop or notice it really was after this run here when he was doing it. Never really cared for it as a finisher, but this particular knee drop looked really nice, but I just can't see someone having to hit that every night. Talk about doing some damage to the body, leaping off and coming down on your knee. But Rick Martel going to get the win here, moving away from the Boston Crab for a brief period of time as the Doctor of Style Slick, so proud of his latest charge. As we learn next week here on Wrestling Challenge, we're going to see the Ultimate Warrior in action, along with Dino Bravo, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Tito Santana going to be here, $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase stepping in the ring. Glad he's recovered. Special interview. We saw it on Superstars. Now Mean Gene going to have a word with Miss Elizabeth. And featured match. We're going to hear closing comments here. They do with the Rockers and the Fabulous Rougeaus. What a matchup. Coming to TV as the Rougeaus promise that they will rock you to the Rockers. Rockers promising a big surprise next week for the Fabulous Rougeaus. Big surprise. Well, we've got one more quick piece of business here. That is the May 15th edition of WWF Primetime Wrestling. Hosted once again by Gorilla and Bobby Heenan. Exclusive matchups this week. The Warlord scoring a victory over Tim Horner with a running power slam. Match goes 3:19, taped April the 26th in Omaha, Nebraska. Also taped in Omaha, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, the Brainbusters, scoring a victory over the Future High Energy. That's right, Coco Beware teaming with the Blue Blazer, or as Bobby Heenan speculates here, perhaps Moose Cholak. Under that hood. Had to laugh at that one. Good one, Brain. The Busters putting the Blazer away with the Spike Piledriver finisher. No protection here of the Blue Blazer. Kind of going down like a job guy. Match goes about 7 minutes time. It's very unfortunate to see where Owen Hart is on the roster right now. And even Owen can kind of read that, as we will see moving into the month of June. But that's going to wrap it up. We're already here into mid-May, moving into the summer of 1989 and Summer Slam. When we get there, we're still a few months off from there. Lots of stories to tell in the meantime. Looking forward to it. Got some debuts, and I'm so looking forward to some vignettes, if you will. Say, aren't you? Coming soon, guys, coming soon. But for right now, No Holds Barred also coming soon, and so much more. We continue to tell the story of Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, the World Championship. Of course, Sherri now with the Macho Man Tag Champions Demolition with the Twin Towers, but the Brainbuster's also knocking on that door. Ultimate Warrior looking to regain what he feels was stolen from him at WrestleMania, the Intercontinental title, and ravishing Rick Rude. The Jake Dibiase feud going to abruptly be put on hold, unfortunately, which would have been the next feud up, in my eyes anyway. But we also have, for the short term, Andre and John Studd. Looks like Duggan and Haku are going to have something going on. Lots of house show feuds they're touching on here on TV as well. So much going on here right now, moving into the summer months of 1989. Looking forward to being here with you for all of those. We've already got another special guest lined up for June, talking news and results when we get there, so stay tuned for that. But right now, we've still got another 2 weeks of May 89 TV, and then another edition of Saturday Night's Main Event coming your way very soon, right here on The Grenade, featuring the epic steel cage matchup between Hulk Hogan and the Big Boss Man. Can't wait to get there on The Grenade. Can't wait to get there on the videocast side of things. Part of the big ones right now at the ultimate tier, patreon.com/WrestleCopia. And as we wrap up this week, just a quick reminder, whatever you're listening to us on, whether it's Apple, whether it's Spotify, whatever the case may be, I know it can be tedious to jump in there. I know you mean to do it down the road, but if you can, right now more than ever, we'd greatly appreciate one of those 5-star ratings, maybe leave a few words. Get us seen in more of the wrestling podcast algorithms out there. It would be greatly appreciated. And again, we're adding even more content to the Patreon. Strongly encourage everybody to go give it a try, if only for a month. You can always cancel, no subscription, no annual subscription, unless you want to. So many great videocasts there with so many talented co-hosts and guests. But for now, we're going to wrap things up here on The Grenade. Be back soon. 2 more weeks of May 1989 WWF goodness right around the corner. Rockers and Rougeos. Can't wait for that one and so much more. Until then, this is Ray Russell saying from pillow to post and coast to coast. You pull the pin, and I'll pick up the pieces right here on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. I'll see you next week. Don't miss it. Be there!
Rooster is excited because next week, right here, I get my rooster claws on you, brawler. No jumping from behind, and all the rooster boosters out there are going to see what I am, poultry in motion. Arr, arr, arr.